Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. We'd like to apologise for last week because our camera ran out and things.
Technical fault.
Technical fault, yes. We've got a working camera now, so all is good. Before we commence with our next review, we must finish the review from last week. The review from last week was of pictures at an exhibition, and it looks like this.
Dun, da, 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 da.
Yeah, and we got to The Curse of Baba Yaga. I think it was The Curse of Baba Yaga that struck. The Curse of Baba Yaga is a nice quiet bit, an interlude if you like, between the two Hut of Baba Yagas, with some nice playing on it. Not much to say about it.
Agreed.
Next song, back to the Hut of Baba Yaga, so you get the reprise of that fantastic dun 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 dun. Brilliant. Great stuff.
No.
One of the best bits of ELP ever. It's just great, and of course they didn't write it. Track 11 though is The Great Gates of Kiev, the big epic ending. This is all from the proper version of Pictures, but with singing. Is that controversial?
Wow, I think it'd be controversial if there was any less singing on the album, because, like, you know, what's Greg like doing?
Apart from just going bang, bang, bang. That's all he does.
So it needed, you know, they needed something for him to do. To sing over something like this, I don't think once you've committed to making a popular record like this from a classical piece, don't think there's much controversy you can add. So sticking singing on there is not going to be a massive, it's not going to make it massively more controversial, put it that way. So you may as well.
Yeah, you might as well. I think it works. I think the vocals work great. And when I put the original on, it sounds incomplete without the vocals. I'm used to the vocals now. I think it works great. He changed the vocal melody ever so slightly, a little bit later than this. So consequently, this isn't the definitive version. I think his delivery of this bit got better over the years, I think. So actually, he probably sung it better in '77. So there you go. There is another track, of course. That's the end of Pictures and Exhibition, obviously. Bonus track on the album, which is Nutcracker, which is Nutcracker Suite, but it's the sort of silly version of it. Very early on in the band, in fact, they played this at the Isle of Wight. They played it at the Isle of Wight. It must have been the gig before that. It must have been the first gig. They got to the end of the concert, and the audience demanded an encore, and they didn't have any of the material. And Emerson suggested playing this, and Greg Lake was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing that." And they ended up playing it, but it almost got to fisticuffs. I think Emerson actually had Greg Lake up against the wall. So they almost got to blows over it, which is funny really, because right at the dawn of the band, there's a bit of a
tension going on.
Yeah. But maybe that's what makes it good.
Yeah.
We haven't got the eggs yet, but never mind, I'll get the eggs later. How many eggs do you give Pictures and Exhibition?
3 eggs.
Yeah, 4 eggs for me. I'd have to give it 4 eggs really.
Join us next time.
Yeah, join us next week for Trilogy.
But not the power in an Unplugged special.
Oh, hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton King. It seems only moments ago since we last spoke.
Yeah.
But today we are doing what?
Trilogy by Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yep, ready?
The horror.
It's just so bad. I tell you what, the back's quite nice because it's a bit of a sunset. But it looks like they're naked. What were they thinking? It's a painting of them. It's the lamest painting ever. It looks so stupid. And it actually looks like they're naked. But what possessed them to think that was a good idea?
It's by Hypnosis as well, isn't it?
Yeah. No wonder they really tried to get something to reflect the music for the next album. Made a big effort to get something really good. Because for God's sake.
We don't like talking about album covers as a rule, do we? But for some reason...
when they're so hideous, it's worth talking about. It's turned over now. I've turned it upside down so we can't see it. I don't want to see it.
Don't want to give people nightmares.
Yeah.
Are they supposed to be all joined at the body?
That's it. The Nights You Say Near. Is it the Nights You Say Near? Or is that the...
There was a night with...
I'm afraid I'll have to kill you then. It's Brace of Robin, isn't it? Yeah.
And his eyes go down, his liver removed.
Yes. But, yes, this album. It's kind of overlooked. And yet, it's my favourite ELP album. I think it's their best album. It is an in-betweeny album, but for me, it's everything on there I like. And their sound is perfected and in many ways straightforward, and in many ways not straightforward, in the perfect level. It's the perfect level of weirdness, which is great. It's kind of the companion piece to Tarkus. In that they kind of go together, they've got that same rounded sound. So in that sense, it's very typical ELP, but at the same time, it was around the time of Tarkus that Emerson's tastes started to change in music he was listening to, and he stopped listening to the classics and started listening to modern classical, which is you think about it, it's a huge leap going from Pixies and Exhibition and stuff like that, going to Ginestra or Gonestra. How do you pronounce it? Let us know, or someone else can Google it for us. Basically, what we're saying.
Yeah.
And that's apparent on this album, but at this stage. He hasn't quite gone there yet, and I think what that means is it's much more jazzy. There's a jazziness to this album that isn't on the other albums, which is good. And obviously they went forth after this onto the next stage of adventure. But I just prefer this, I just think it's a great album.
Do you want my opinion on it?
Yeah.
I think it's much more consistent than Tarkus. It's much better quality right way through. I consider this to be ELP sound. So when I imagine ELP, this is the kind of stuff I imagine.
It's interesting you say that. I mean, there is a lot of piano on this album, isn't there?
Yeah, there's also quite a lot of that stuff going on. Although there is some really nice music on there. You're right, it is overlooked for some reason. Some people possibly call it underrated.
It's overshadowed by the following album, unfairly. Plus, I'm moaning about Good Luck again. It's his fault. He didn't want to play the stuff live for whatever reason. So only one of the song went on to be a concert staple. Strangely and sadly. But there is a twist to that, which we'll talk about in a bit.
There is only one song on this album that really grabbed me though, which is interesting. It's probably not the one you'd imagine. ELP, that's what it is, it's just ELP.
Yeah, it's ELP. When I first ventured into ELP, I was only a kid, I was about 15 I think, liking sort of classic rock type music. I bought Brain Salad Surgery and I think that was a mistake. I probably should have bought this. Or Tarkus, but probably this one.
Yeah, well, we're not going to review Brain Salad Surgery today, but this is less challenging than Brain Salad Surgery, definitely.
Yeah. Track 1, please. The Endless Enigma. To me, the first 2 tracks are one piece with a middle section, mostly because the Endless Enigma Part 2 is actually just a reprise, and it's very short, so really it's one long piece there, one big piece. That's the thing we were just making fun of with our silly music, because when I first heard it I did think that was a bit, it's Greg Lake's lyrics being a bit grating. Can't you even see how great I am? But it doesn't matter, because it epitomises that what's great about his voice, what's great about the keyboards, what's great about the drumming. Over the top bombast, the sort of neoclassical dun, 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 is very nice. The intro's brilliant. I really like the intro. You've got some sounds on there. I think, is it the kazoo? This is where he uses kazoo, I think.
Yeah.
So as soon as it comes on, you think, ooh, this is a bit good.
Yeah, the intro is very good, actually.
Yeah, and I think even if you don't like the song or ELP, I think everyone would like the intro. There's a fugue in the middle. Nice bit of piano.
That's very classical as well. That's Baroque.
Yeah, proper bit of Baroque. Nice bit of Baroque.
That's what this album's missing.
Bark, innit?
Bit of bark.
It's a bit of bark, innit? We should stress that he wrote it himself, although it is in the style
of someone else.
Yes. So it does that, and then you get the reprise again of the big theme. Great stuff. And again, forgotten a bit, that track, I think, which is a terrible, terrible shame.
Well, it should be the sort of... It's the Tarkus of the album, really, isn't it? Because it's long and it's big and it's in your face.
There's nothing as proggy in that track as there is in Tarkus. You don't get the the fast bits and there's not much syncopated in there, so it's simpler in that sense, so more accessible.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Track 4.
Track 4 is From the Beginning. This was the single, possibly controversially. However, I think this is Greg Lake's best song. Obviously, he does his folky thing. There's a slight jazziness maybe to this song. This is Greg Lake's peak of his songwriting, I think. He never wrote anything as good as this again. And these great songs he wrote in the early days stopped. I don't know, when they came back in 77, it was not the same. And it's his side of works I dislike. And obviously there's Love Beach as well, which is loads of his songs as well. But From the Beginning is just a great song, and they were right to release that as the single. Whereas Lucky Man was controversial because it wasn't showing the style of the band. From the Beginning is just a great song, so it should be correct.
This is the track I was on about when I said it's my favourite one. I think maybe this week I've had a little bit of effort, struggled to put the effort into the album, and that's why I'm picking. This is a very immediate thing that you can pull from the album and enjoy. It's a good single, and it's a good sort of linchpin into the album.
Only complaint: production, vocals are too low in the mix. The guitar's right up here, and the vocals are quite low, and there's a bit of reverb on there. He's got such a great voice, why not put it out there? You know?
You can imagine Emerson looking at this and thinking, oh, but maybe it was just a sop to Greg Lake, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's such a good song that I'm sure they couldn't turn it down.
Okay, next track.
Next song is The Sheriff. This is the second part of the Greg Lake's Western trilogy. Are they Western? I don't think they're really Western, but whatever they are. This is the second part of the trilogy. This is easily the best one. Nice bit of piano in there as well. Amusing story kind of stuff. Entertaining in the same way as Jeremy Bender is entertaining, but a lot better, I think.
You've got one that's sort of, it's a strange mix, isn't it? You've got one guy going for classical music, and another guy going for American Western music, which is a real sort of strange coming together.
It is.
It's amazing that they stuck together as long as they did, given those taste vectors.
Yeah, I mean, from Emerson's perspective, he always says he's trying to get in as many different styles as possible, and he was thinking about doing a solo album where he was going to do one song honky tonk, one song blues. And he's trying to do all these styles in there, but what everybody hears is the classical stuff, which sort of overwhelms everything else. Probably because he's good at it.
Well, that's where all the acrobatics happen, isn't it? Ooh. Right, track 6.
Track 6 is Hoedown.
Yeah.
From
Rodeo.
First Aaron Copland piece that they've done. It's very accessible again. I mean, like you said, Greg Lake doing the Western thing. This might be Emerson actually responding to that and putting something that fits together with it, because obviously it does. They used to open with it live. It's better because they played it at breakneck speed, and it was, almost turns into William Tell. It's just lots of cool playing, completely unpretentious. There is nothing pretentious about Hoedown. It's fun bit of playing.
I have to admit, I mean, you said when we started these reviews, it was your challenge to sort of demonstrate that they weren't pretentious.
Yeah.
I haven't come across very much that is pretentious so far. Track 7.
To turn the record over to Trilogy, this is my favourite ELP piece. This trumps Tarkus for me. Fantastic vocal work from Greg Lake. It might be that's the reason he didn't want to do it live, because it might be quite challenging. Really lovely. The classicaliness is replaced with the jazziness, so it has a very different feel to all their other big pieces, I think. But the Moog fits better with the jazziness, but it isn't just Moog. Obviously there's some cool piano on there. 3 sections obviously, because it's a trilogy, so you've got the quiet vocally bit, you've got this sort of weird jam, and then an even weirder jam at the end. Apparently the big Moog solo though is not quite right. It's a little bit out of tune. He did this fantastic solo, sat down, only because he has a drink and everything. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and sort of Greg Lake and Eddie Offord, the engineer really, I think Greg Lake was the producer, had another snort of coke, press the wrong button, delete. So we had to do it again at 3 o'clock, and apparently he's not happy with it. It's not quite in tune. It's very difficult to get Moogs in tune, but I don't hear that. I just hear something fantastic and awesome. Belongs on all prog compilations.
Yeah, I knew that this was the track from the album. It is widely considered brilliant. It's not that I dislike it. I just haven't had the right mindset to go there this week. So I haven't really been able to appreciate it. So I can tell it's good, but to get there on that sort of emotional level, it's been a bit of a strain for me this week. So there we go.
Yes, it's very good.
I expected it to be basically 3 instrumental sections for each of the band members.
Oh,
I was expecting a Palmer section, a Emerson, and a Greg Lake section.
Yeah. What we actually get is an Emerson section, an Emerson section, an Emerson section, with some drumming and singing along the way.
Yeah. I mean, it's the title track from the album, isn't it? And I suppose that's why they look like they're all one person, because they are a trilogy. And they look like they've got a liver problem, because they're very yellow.
Yeah, they're sort of yellowy, orangey. Perhaps they're wearing fake tan. Yet Living Sin, I think very typical ELP song. So throughout their career, they did songs like in this style. like Bitch's Crystal and the sort of 3.5 minute proggy keyboardy piece, that's more typical than the 35-minute 3-movement terrifying complicated piece that must have taken a long time to learn. However, something occurred to me this week, and it was only this week it occurred to me, it really sounds like Deep Purple. And I thought, well, that's a weird thing to say, I'll say that in the video. But I worked it out, and actually it is Deep Purple-y. The riff is definitely Deep Purple-y. There's definitely something happening stylistically there. Whether that's intentional or not, don't know. It's interesting because they both went on to play the California Jam and had arguments about who would go on first and all that stuff. I could almost imagine Ian Gillan singing that. Early 70s Ian Gillan. And again, it's one of those ones, it's a good song with some good playing.
This is the difference between this album and Tarkus. These tracks, which are essentially, short, almost background tracks or,
Just normal rock songs.
Yeah, they're good. Whereas on Tarkus, you're a little bit, well, does that really need to be on there? We get to the next highlight, please.
Yeah, this is all good from beginning to end.
Next track.
Abaddon's Bolero. Yeah, a 4/4 Bolero, so whereas I think Ravel's Bolero is in 6/8. But a lot of Boleros are in 3/4, I think. But this one's in 4/4 to make it like a march. Great idea, and lots of Moog. So if you like lots of Moog, you're going to like it. And it is seriously overdubbed and overdubbed and overdubbed. Probably quite revolutionary in terms of overdubbage, actually, I would think. However, it was so much better when they did it with an orchestra. The sound of an orchestra rather than was great, actually. It's worth checking out the 77 version.
Yeah, I mean, a Bolero is all about that slow building from very quiet to very loud, full on. I've got Ravel's Bolero in my head, and I cannot get past it. And it's better, obviously.
Yeah.
Torval and Dean.
Yeah.
They kind of ruined the song, tune, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to make of this really. Is it a fitting end to the album? Probably. Meant for live consumption.
Yeah, interesting. They did attempt it live as a 3-piece with Greg Lake on Mellotron, but it was abandoned apparently. It was a bit of a train wreck, so it wasn't until they got the orchestra in to do it. That was interesting. We must bring forth the eggs.
There's Earth.
There we go. I give this 5 eggs. Now, Tarkus was a 4.5 really. This is a proper 5-egg album. Not a Kev stretching it a bit. For me that's a 5-egg album because it's their best album.
I'm just thinking, 5 eggs. Is this comparable to a Led Zeppelin record?
Depends which Led Zeppelin record.
Obviously, there are some.
Well, it's comparable to 1 and 2 and Hazard the Holy and better than In Through the Head Door. Put it that way.
I don't think it's comparable to 1 and 2. I'm going to give it 4 eggs.
There you go, 4 eggs. That's cool. We've done 4 albums. We've got to do another one.
But do we have to though, Kev? I mean, everyone's listened to it. It's hard work. I don't think we ought to do it, Kev.
Do you don't think we should do it? Perhaps we shouldn't do it then.
I don't think we'll do it. Unless we get some specific requests in the comments that we actually review Brain Salad Surgery.
Okay. Let's say if we get 8 individual requests in the comments, we'll do Brain Salad Surgery.
Okay, yeah. If we get 8 specific requests, I think we should do Brain Salad Surgery. Because, we normally limit to 3, and we've done 4.
Yeah.
Especially that will make it 5. That's up there with Camel.
8 comments by individual people, obviously. Please don't just make public accounts. We'll do Brain Salad Surgery. If not, we'll be doing something else.
Secret.
The plan is, after ELP, I want to do Hendrix. We're going to do 1 Hendrix album. Then we'll do a surprise Christmas album for Christmas. Not a Christmas album, I mean an album for Christmas. Probably have a little break after that. Then we'll do Radiohead.
Yeah, okay.
That's good.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Give us some likes.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.